How's it going, everybody? Thanks, Jersey. Appreciate that. All right. So tonight, I was trying to think earlier today, like what to do. And then I thought, well, instead of just doing just a song, I thought I should do a song with a purpose. So this is a song that I teach a lot of my private students because it has a lot of somewhat fundamental kind of things, but just like some really good techniques and things that are used in this song, and it's a cool song on top of it. So it's "Wake Me Up When September Ends" by Green Day. So as usual, there's a link in the description where you can download the tab so you can follow along and everything. All right. Yeah, so sure to get those tabs. And this very first part of it here, I want to look at is it's the intro, and it's also part of the verse. It's kind of like the main riff of the song. It's like the most recognized, as soon as you hear it, you know what's coming. So hello, Rick. Welcome. Yeah, so one of the things, what I was saying about some of the like kind of fundamental things is, so this first part of it here, we're just arpeggiating. So if you haven't, had a lot of experience with that, this is a great, like a great exercise for that. And then the timing for it is a little bit unusual. So if you notice, like, so the very first measure, I did this like I've done other songs in the past. It's got all the parts, so it's all, it's condensed. But once you know how to play the different parts, it's easy to put the song together. So this very first one here, on this first measure, if you notice the timing on it is the same as it's going to be throughout the verse and everything. So it's kind of unusual. So you can see that we've got 5/8 notes and then a dotted quarter note. So for those of you who do not know what hello, Paul, welcome. First time? Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. So if you have a note with a dot after it like that, what it means is you just add 50% of its value to it. So a dotted quarter note would get a beat and a half. So on this, the timing for it, we've got this 1, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Like that. All right, so that's one of the, those are two things right there that I was saying that are, this make, aside from just being a cool song and everything, that it's actually beneficial to your playing. And I use this song, I actually use a handful of Green Day songs, and not that I'm like a big Green Day fan. I mean, I like them and everything, but they just have a lot of songs that are really, really great songs for teaching. All right, so for this first chord here, we're on the 5th fret of the D string, the G string is open, and we're on the 3rd fret of the B string. So I'm just using my 1st and 3rd finger, but I want to show you an alternative way that you can do this, because I never thought of playing like this, but one of my students actually did. So what happens with this chord is that each time we change is that this lowest note moves down. So we start with it, we're on the 5th fret, then the 4th fret, then it's going to go to the 2nd fret. So when I do it, I actually change which fingers I'm using. So I put my third finger where my first finger is, there on the third fret of the B string. And then I use my first finger to pick up the second fret of the D string, like that. So the thing of it is you have to be able to make the change without missing a beat in the process. So that's the way I had always done it. And then I had a student that, let's see, how did they? Yeah, they did it like this. I'm not going to start playing it this way because I can already play it the other way easily enough. But this might be something you might want to consider doing, and even like maybe trying it both ways, because that way you get the experience of, you kind of get the idea that sometimes you're going to play the same chord, but you might use different fingers to do it depending upon what came before it or what's coming after it. So if you want to try it that way, you're going to put your fourth finger on the fifth fret of the D string, and then your third finger onto the fourth fret of the D string, your first finger onto the second fret, and then your middle finger onto the third fret of the B string. So all you have to do is each measure, it changes chords. So this is after the intro. So on this first one here, we play this 4 times. Then it goes into the verse. So the first measure of the verse is the same thing. Then we take your pinky off, and so that's going to automatically, since your third finger's there on the fourth fret, then you take your third finger off, and then first finger off. So that's the first 5 measures. So you can do it that way, or like I said, the way that I do it. Whoops. And then I switch my whole hand position like that. So either way, I mean, it obviously isn't going to sound any different. It's just kind of what is easier for you to do, kind of. Oh. All right, so I realize that for a lot of you, this might be right out of the gate, might seem difficult for you or whatever. But don't sweat it. Just going to take practice. I mean, I've taught hundreds of people how to play this. It's just not going to be a big deal, but it just might feel that way at first. So at first, you could just work on just getting the picking and the timing. It's called Wake Me Up When September Ends, Paul. And if you, I'm not sure how late you came in or whatever, but there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs for this. Yeah, so the first measure and the second measure is the same thing. So let's just say those 4 measures, that's kind of the full meat and potatoes of the song. That's like the main riff that it's repeated throughout the song numerous times, that progression. So anyhow, depending upon which way you're going to do it, if you're going to do it with the way I do it, then you'll probably want to practice going just back and forth between the third measure and the fourth measure, like that, just to get that part of it down. All right. So before we move on from there, does anybody have any questions or anything about that, or just anything as usual? It's just our regular Tuesday night Q&A. Oh, and then something else too. I've had a lot of students before, they wanted to play it with, instead of using a pick, they wanted to play it finger style. So I mean, you could do that, but later on it does get into where they're doing more, strumming. So it's a good, I think it's a good one. I mean, you could use it as a, as a practice tool for practicing finger picking, but I would, encourage you to work on it with the pick itself. All right, so we're still in the verse. We're on. We just went through that whole walk down thing. So now we're on measure 6, and it says, if you look up at the top of the measure, it says C. So I want to show you, and this is just the way I make transcriptions, and I know other people make them this way too. But I've also seen other ones that do not. So the idea of what I do with this is it's to make it easier. So if you look up and you see that, okay, it says we're going to play a C chord. Now, you could do C like this or like this or like this. There's like a dozen ways you could do it. So you're going to have to look at the tab, or if there's like a chord chart at the top of the page, um, to look to see what voicing. So if we look on here, we can see that the voicing we're using is just our bar chord with the root note on the A string, just our major shape. So I'm barring the 5th fret of the D, G, and B string with my 3rd finger, and then I'm picking up the 3rd fret of the A string with my 1st finger. Okay, so the reason that that's a good thing to do, if you know what you look at it, you're like, okay, it's going to be these chords. So like on the next one, you can see that it's C minor, so it's going to be the minor shape rooted there, and then G5, which is just back to the first chord of the intro again, or the intro in the first verse. So if you look at this, then what you can do is go, okay, well, it says a C. I put my fingers on, I'm playing a C. And then all you have to do, you don't have to read the tab. All you have to do is pick the strings as they're as indicated, reading from left to right. So on there, we look at it, we can see that the A string, then the D string, then the B string, then the G string, then the D string, and then the B string again. So, and it's the same timing as the previous part. The next measure is C minor, so we just switch to C minor, do the same thing. A, D, B, G, D, B, and then back to that very first chord. So the thing that's nice about when we make this transition from the C minor back to that first chord, the G5, your ring finger, your 3rd finger there, is already where it needs to be to do that chord. So it's a nice, easy transition. Now, if you're doing it the other way that we talked about, where you're putting all your fingers down, then you'll have to move your pinky. I mean, I've had lots of students that do it that way, and it's great and everything, but I don't know. I just feel it's easier to do it the way that I do it. And that might just be because I played it that way for a long time before I never thought of it. Like I said, a student showed me that that's how he was doing it. All right. So you got that first chord, that G5, and we play that 4 times. The first measure repeated 4 times because that's just the intro. And this is before the vocals or anything come in. Now we're starting the verse. There's a C, C minor, back to the G, back to the G5. Now, if I gotta flip the page, so it does that G5 twice, and then that's a repeat. So then we go all the way back to the second measure, and we play through all of that again. So we play through the whole walking down thing, the C minor, and then 2 measures of the G5 again. Let's see here. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, Okay, so after you go through that 2 times, then we go into this bridge section. So what we're going to do here is we start off. We've got a G6. So G6 is if you just take the regular G chord like this, but you take your pinky off so the high E string is open. And we're going to play with that same timing. And now we're going to do E, G, whoops, E, G, B, G, E, D, or B. So it's actually the same thing as, it's just, we got that G an octave lower is the only thing that's different. So we've got that. Okay, sorry, I couldn't remember how to what to do, what came next. Okay, so we have that same timing. Then the next measure, the first half of it is that. So we do E, G, B, G, and then we're going to move the note on the low E string to down a half step. So all I do is just take that my second finger off, put my first finger on, and then it's E, G, B, E. All right, so that part right there, I've had some students say that was the tricky, that part was tricky or whatever. I think it's just because if you've practiced the other part. Now keep in mind that this isn't like I wouldn't go through all of this in one session like we are with a student. We would, depending upon the individual, maybe we would just did just the verse for one, week, and then the next week we worked on the bridge or something like that. So what I'm kind of having to throw all this out to you in one shot. But so that being said, some of these parts you just may have to. I mean, it might be a while before you can play all of the parts to it. So I'd recommend that if you're, like if you start on that intro or the first verse and that's really kicking your butt, don't worry about trying to play the rest of the song. Just work on that part of it, kind of work your way through it. I feel that if I'm working on a song, like learning a cover song, and I play the whole song over and over and over again, and there's only like maybe certain sections that need help, maybe there's like a transition in the chorus that I'm having problems with. Well, rather than just keep playing the song over a billion times to work on that, just work on the part until you can and then move on to the next part. So that way, by the time you're done with the song, you don't hate it. Let me see here. Where are we? Okay, so after we do that little transition thing, so for any of you that saw the video I did on this guitar, this is the guitar I did the review on, and I said that I would play it, and I've been playing it a lot. And one thing that's it doesn't stay in tune really well, and I know that it's these tuners. So that's going to be, I'm going to do a video, or maybe I'll do it here where I'll go through and I'm going to do new nut tuners, strings, polish the frets, and then I don't know. I'll probably shield it. There's no shielding in the electronics cavity, but it actually looks really, really good. The soldering and stuff in there looks really, really, really nice. Oh, hey, Butterfly. But G6 at G5, what are you? Oh, okay. So I understand what you're saying. So the reason for that is maybe you weren't here just a few minutes prior to that. So what I try to do on these, like where it has C, if you look at it, it says, okay, it's a C, you identify which voicing it is. And so in this case, it's this bar chord one. So then all you have to do is just look A, D, B, G, D, B. You don't have to like pay attention to the numbers and stuff like that. So that G6 up there, even though we're not hitting the high E string, if we did, that would make it G6. And it's just that G6 is a chord that I figure, okay, well, if you've got muscle memory for it, you could do that. You could put your fingers on to do that. Now, the whole G5 thing like this, like you're talking about, I didn't think about that. That actually could have worked as well. But that was what my mindset was at the time when I made this, which was a long time ago, many, 10 years ago at least. Yeah, so after we do that, then we go to E minor. So again, look and see what the voicing is. You can see all those open strings. So we know it's this just regular open, the voicing that you probably already know. So again, we're going to do that same thing. We're going to pick the strings. We're going to read them from left to right. So here it's E, D, B, G, D, B. Then to B minor. So it's this bar. It's just that like the C minor we did, but a half step down. So A, D, B, G, D, B. Now we've got that C again, so we just move up a half step, do the major. And now we've got that next measure is like the second measure of the bridge. So we go back to that G6 or G5 if you're rather shape. And then flatten our finger down. Back to E minor, B minor, C, and then D. So now we just take that bar chord, move it up a whole step. So now we're at the 5th and 7th fret. All right, so that's that whole part. And then after that, it would actually just go right back into another verse again. But that verse is, wait a minute, make sure that I'm 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. For whatever reason, the program on this computer that I got for viewing photos is really bizarre, and it puts everything in these really, really weird orders. All right. So after it does that part, then it just goes back into what's listed here as alternative verse. So this is where we get into the strumming part. So we start off with the same, like the beginning of the song, with that walk down. Oops. So that's that's measure 23. And now we're going to go to measure 24 here, and we start strumming. So it shows it's the same chord progression. We're going to do the C, but now we're going to strum, and it's all eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to C minor, and then to G. And then that's a repeat. Then it goes back and does that again. So that whole alternative verse. So you'd repeat it once, and then after you repeat it, it goes into another bridge, but now this bridge, instead of being arpeggio like it was, it's being strummed. So it starts off with the G, and we just ended with G on that. So we've come in from that. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and now the bridge 1 and 2 and then we're going to go to a G over F sharp. So it's that same thing. I just flatten my first finger down here and let it. So I'm picking up the 2nd fret, and then it's muting the A string. and that's going to be 3 and 4, and then yeah, and then we go into just like before, the same chord progression. So we get the E minor, and it's just all eighth notes, all one measure long. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and B minor, 2 and 3 and 4 and C and 2 and 3 and 4 and then that G F sharp thing again. B minor, B minor, C, and then up to D. And then after that, it would go right back into this again. So, like I said, that part of it, it just keeps coming back over and over and over. So that's all of the parts to it. The only other part there is the guitar solo itself. And maybe we should have done that too, because it's actually pretty easy. I can't remember how to. Something like that. I can't remember exactly. But the rhythm guitar during that part is just doing the comes in on yeah, that bridge thing, and then at the end of it, when it climbs up to the D, it's actually D suspended 4, D, does that. And then goes it back into that. So that D suspended 4, you just take that bar chord and you just take your pinky and you pick up, well, depending upon, in this case, we're at the 5th fret and the 7th fret. So it's the 8th fret. It's just, you just basically take the note that you're playing on the B string that you're barring, move it up 1 fret. So no matter where. Like that. All right. So does anybody have any questions about any of that, or, whatever? So just a, typical Q&A. So is this one, you having doing better up with this one, Jersey, than some of the other songs we've done? Oh, well, that's good. Like I said, this is one that I use for, with private lessons and stuff, because it teaches a lot of stuff, and it's a cool song. Even if you're not even really into this kind of music or don't like Green Day or whatever, can't really deny that this is a pretty dope tune. It hurts your pinky to do that. Is that what you mean? Oh, it hurts your third finger to bar it. Do you normally do the chord like this with these 3 fingers? Or is that you're doing this and then when you put this down, it's somehow hurting your finger? So you put your third finger down, and then when you put your pinky down, yeah, it's I don't know. I'd have to really see you do it to really probably be able to do help you. Do you use your middle finger to reinforce your third finger when you're like that? So you can see that I actually have my second finger helping to press down. You might want to maybe try that, because one thing I noticed that when I pulled this up, it made this finger want to come up this way. This kind of holds it in place. I originally started doing it because I was really self-conscious because I always felt like I was flipping the bird when I was playing. So I started doing that just as a way to kind of keep it out of the way. And then after a while, I realized that it was actually helpful. The one thing with this guitar that I'm really like, well, two things. One, the neck, that it plays nice and that it's as straight as an arrow. And these pickups, I mean, I'm sure that they're just, I don't know if they make their own, but it's not like it's got, Duncans in it or anything, but they actually sound really good. I'm pretty surprised. Yeah, it might be hard for a while to get your finger down with that idea in your hand, because what will happen is right now it's going to cause you to use your muscles differently, but your brain's trying to do, or your hand is trying to do it, both things at the same time. Once it kind of figures out how to do it, it'll probably get a bunch easier. That's the thing that's tough about with playing. If there's like certain ways you play, if you do it for a long, for years, and then you change it later on, it can be like stupid hard to do. That's what I did with alternate picking. I didn't know what it was, and I practiced playing down, up, down, down, always starting with a downstroke instead of, and it really made a big difference. Lenny, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yeah, it's a great song. Don't know how to play it, if that's what you're asking. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions or anything we want to chat about or whatever, we can wrap this up. But I really appreciate everybody coming out, and anybody who dropped in late. There's a link in the description where you can download the tabs for the tune we went over. But again, I'd like to thank everybody who came out. If you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment. Let me know. Oh, hi, Bill. No worries, man. I'll be back on tomorrow. It's Tuesdays and Wednesdays at it's 6 o'clock my time, like 8 Eastern. But Bill, you can watch it on the rerun. You can download the tabs and catch it on the rerun. Oh. Thank you guys. I mean, if there wasn't anybody tuning in, there would be nothing for me to do. I'd just be sitting here talking to the air. You are welcome, Rick. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, Glenn. I don't. I don't really know ahead of time. I really need to do that. I really need to just sit down and like plan out a calendar of things. It would probably make my life, easier, but I haven't done it. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if it, what we'll be doing, but we'll be doing something. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. I really appreciate it. And I will catch y'all tomorrow. Hope that y'all tune in tomorrow because I don't know what we're gonna do. I'll figure it out before then. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.